Well, hello. I am back again with another live here on Instagram. I've got another special guest who is joining me. She is a videographer, a video producer, and a digital media consultant. So just waiting for her to come on, and then I will add her to the conversation. Now, if you've got a question, here she is here. We will... Okay. So hi Celia, if you would request to go live, I will add you to, here we go. It's here, coming on in a moment. Lots and lots of goodies to share. We'll give you an opportunity to ask questions as well.
I think we're good. Hello, how are you?
We are good. We are good. Thank you very much. Good to connect. I was just telling everyone that we're about to go live. You are here now, which is fantastic. You are a video producer and also a digital media consultant, which at the moment, people who have relied on a lot of face-to-face, a lot of in-person marketing, networking, going to events, now are looking to go online. And I love the conversation that we had yesterday, which is why we're here today. You said, people need to continue to share their content, even in situations that we now find ourselves across the globe. So just let me introduce you, Celia Werner, video producer, digital marketing consultant, as I said. And today we're going to talk about some things that we can be doing to continue sharing our content, but more importantly, how we go about making the experience a really good one that people can listen and watch. So you're going to be talking about some lighting and audio for meetings, online meetings, and even sharing content such as we're doing today. You're going to talk about some tips for recording ourselves, as well as the importance of sharing content. Some of it may need to change slightly, the angle, the storytelling, that kind of thing. But for people who are joining us live, if you've got a question that you would like to ask Celia, please leave the questions here, and I will ask them in between the content that she is sharing. So maybe, Celia, you want to just give everyone a little bit of an overview of how you got into what you're doing now?
So the way that I got into what I'm doing is because way back when I wanted to be a YouTuber. So I got into it because I wanted to make videos of myself, but then I fell in love with making videos for other people, for businesses, because there is a sense of actually like making a difference in their business by making their website landing page video or making their social media content, because you're working with the image that that business is portraying of themselves. Yeah. So instead of someone just putting out like a picture from their iPhone or something, it's something that you're working with them individually to make their identity online. Yeah. So that's a little bit of how I got to like, or what I like about what I do. But I've also worked in news, I've worked in television, reality, all of that. But I love working with small businesses and businesses in general because it's a little more personal instead of, TV network of 1 million people and they don't really know your name.
Yeah, I love that. And it's such an important, area today, because we've got so much technology that we can leverage. And as business owners, we know that we need to share our content. And one of the things that I just posted recently was, so many of us, we hear content, be across as many platforms as you can. But I'm sure you're going to share today and confirm and agree that we need to be intentional in what we're sharing. We need to understand, where do we want to position our, for many of my clients, they're aspiring thought leaders or thought leaders. So yes, we need to share content, but we need to be mindful about the type of content, the consistency of the content, and of course, what you'll be talking about today. There's a level of, I don't want to say the word professionalism, but there's things that we can be doing to enhance the experience so that it looks good, it sounds good, and people can really enjoy and benefit from that. So let's dive in. Let's talk about some of these lighting and audios. I'm sure you've got a long list of things that we should not be doing that you see. What would you say are the top things that you see many people doing that you think, stop doing this because it's really detracting and distracting as people watch and listen to your content?
Okay, so the first and foremost things that I've been seeing people do since switching to home are a lot of people, they're not really setting the space that they're doing their video, their live streams, their Zoom conferences and things like that. For instance, if you look at the space that I'm in and the space that you're in, it's not super distracting. People are able to look at us and kind of concentrate on us as the main point. But if you're in a cluttered office or a cluttered room where you have stuff everywhere, for instance, if all of my desks were piled up with boxes, someone might be distracted looking around and being like, huh, what's over
What's
there?
going
Instead of
there?
actually listening to what you're saying. So
Yes.
that's one thing I've figured out, that people need to take a look at their frame when they're actually in. Another thing that a lot of people are doing that I would recommend not to do is they are setting up in front of a window, but not the correct way. They're putting a window behind them. So the problem with that is when you're using a phone or a laptop, it's not a camera like a digital camera where you can set the aperture and the ISO and all of the different settings to stay the same. It's compensating for you. So it's looking for the brightest thing in your image so that it can expose for that. So if my face is the brightest thing in the image, it's going to expose for my face. But if I have a big window behind me, it's just going to make my face all grainy and dark because it's trying to fix it. That's another one of the big things that I've been noticing people are doing, because I've been in big Zoom meetings with like 15 people, and you see like the 2 people that know what they're doing and then all of the people that are just like attending to attend, if that makes sense.
Yes. That's good. We just saw a great comment there. Thank you, Empowered Muse. It really good tips, very important to consider. And you know, I don't think we often take into consideration, where am I setting up? Because especially with video, if it's audio only, then obviously we don't have the visual aspect. One question I have, and again, if you've got a question, let me know and I will add it to this link. Now, normally, I've got a window to the side here, but I've also got one of those ring lights. And so
I can see it in your glasses.
I'm going to turn it on. But what happens for people like me who have glasses that we have to remind ourselves? Because if I look up like that, you can see the ring lights. I've got to kind of keep mindful to look down. But are there any other tips for us that do have glasses so that we don't kind of glow on screen?
So glasses are always difficult. I have 2 tips. Tip number 1 is you can raise the light higher and do it on an angle down, so that the angle of reflection in your glasses is coming from higher. So you have to turn your head way up here to get that in your glasses. But the second tip, which is a less known tip, is if you take the top of your glasses and bring them up in the back, that angles them this way so that like it still looks normal when you're looking at the camera. But the angle of the glass won't get so much of the actual reflection in it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It feels a bit weird, but anyway.
Yeah, but it doesn't look that much different.
No, that's a great tip. And, you know, and these are all little things that we, you know, they're very inexpensive, some of these ring lights too. So that's the beautiful thing about the technology that we have. I mean, I've just got a tripod. I'm on my iPhone. I do have a bigger ring light, but I've also got a smaller one here too. And if we are positioned, as you said, next to a window, make sure the window is behind the camera and not behind you.
Exactly. That is the biggest thing. The nicest light that you're going to get is from outside. Yeah. Because it's nice. It's like if it's through a window, it's soft light. It's going to look nice on your skin. But one thing, and what I'm actually using right now, which is also a tip, is I have a two monitor setup on my computer. So I put like Facebook up on one and email up on the other, and you can see that I'm well illuminated. If I click to something dark, you can see the lighting change.
Yes.
So if you have 2 monitors, putting up something white definitely does make a difference. So that's another tip.
I love that. Just here, while we're here, Celia, Pix has said, what's the difference between posting and live between the 2 of you? I'm not sure if I understand. Do you want to share a little bit more? Does that make sense?
I think I know what's being asked. I think what's being asked is what's the difference between a post, like us posting us on video onto like the news feed, the timeline, versus us being live. Us being live means that we can respond to your question right now.
Yes.
So that would be the difference.
Yeah. And these are all different things that we're trying out. I mean, I haven't done very many lives myself, because whilst I don't mind speaking, I would much rather interview people because I'm learning and there's an exchange of conversation going
Of
on. So
course.
that's what I love about interviews. And I think now it's such a great way, you know, particularly for people, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, around, you know, maybe they don't necessarily have a lot of content that they can share on a regular basis just from themselves. Well, guess what? We have got so many people around the world that can add value to your ideal clients that can share their content. And so I'm sorry, you know, one thing, when I put my glasses up, because these are multifocal, I can't read.
That makes a little difference. That makes it a little more difficult.
Anyway, there you go. First world problems, as they say. So, well, let's talk about some of the other tips to recording ourselves, because one of the things that we can do now, and I haven't quite figured out how to do this, that once we finish our live, we can download it.
Yes.
I don't know how to download it on my phone. I'm going to have to Google it. I've been trying. And then we can repurpose that content.
Yes.
Do you know how to do that?
Well, yes, I will tell you how to do that. But really quickly, before we do that, the easiest way to get good audio is exactly what you're doing right now with the headphones and the little, I guess, microphone that they have for it. Because we spoke about lighting, but I want to make sure that we speak a little bit about audio. Audio is so important, because if you have like a blurry image but good audio, it's a lot easier to digest rather than a perfectly clear image and then fuzzy audio, which kind of turns off your brain to it, and then you don't want to continue watching. So that's really important for these like Zoom calls, Skype calls, FaceTime, whatever people are doing right now, because the whole point of doing those calls is to have that back and forth with whoever it is, your client, your friends, your family. And you want to make sure that you're able to be heard, and doing it like that with the headphones or making sure that you're in a quiet room is really, really important.
Yeah. And, you know, what I have done is, because I am on a tripod, is just lift the phone a little bit higher so that I can, because I notice the difference that if I'm just, I mean, you're coming through beautifully, so you must be in an enclosed room. But you can hear the difference, can't you? In some instances, if you are relying on the mic just on your phone versus if you are using a headset, and it just allows the sound to be a little bit more, sometimes a little bit deeper, because it's just capturing the audio from your microphone. So what other tips do you have for us as far as recording, whether it's video or audio?
So with what you were saying, a lot of people are going to try and be doing live streams just like we're doing right now. With your question, it's going to pop up at the end once you finish this and ask if you want to download it. That's where you hit it, and then that's where you download it. Another way is you can do a screen record on your phone, which easier to send you a link to that than it is to explain it, because you have to go into the settings and move things around, but that is an option. One of the other tips that I have for people who are recording themselves is positioning in the frame. If you notice, both of us, we are positioned so you can clearly see us, but I've been like one of the people that have been doing a lot of live meetings on Zoom are actually my physical trainers. So you have some of the older people from the gym who are sitting there like this. This is how they're framing themselves. Or they're like over here and they're looking this way. You want to make sure that you are pretty much centered in the frame. You want to kind of have a good eye line. I don't have my tripod downstairs for my phone. Realistically, I probably would want to be here about where, like the eye line, like the eye height, so that it's nice and clear and it looks like I'm looking right at you. Unfortunately, right now, I have a little bit of under chin going on.
And these are all things that you don't really, once you start, and I've got a tripod, and again, it's quite handy that I've got a little handle, so you just notice, because when you're on your own, you've got to keep this in mind too. If you're doing some, you know, interviews like we do, you may need to adjust so that you're not seeing my, you know, the double, triple, you know, chin or quadruple.
I'll just pull up my collar right here, and I'll just do the rest of it like this.
All good tips. And I guess one of the things, though, I mean, these tips are all very helpful and really good. But, you know, if you're just starting out, start out. do a little bit of, you know, adjustments and just continue to do that. Because sometimes what we do is we wait for things to be perfect, and they never will be, will they, Celia? I mean, it's just get out there and share that message. Are there any other tips that you think that if we incorporate, that is going to really help the experience that we're creating for our audience?
So I think it's really important right now to get out in front of your audience. You need to show, especially if you have a business, that everything's okay. This is what we're doing. This is what we're handling it, like how we're handling it. And being that touch point and making your audience feel comfortable. For instance, I've been putting out content twice as much since this all started, because I want to have that content that people can look at and be like, oh, that's how I'm supposed to record my home workout. I did a video on that. Or this is going to take me out of it for a second because it's a shot from Disney World. Something that'll keep people going, something that'll keep people educated. I know that there's only so much that I can do as a videographer, but I can educate, I can help, and I can make sure that people see me. Yeah. One of the biggest reasons is because after everything's done and people need to make content in person again, they'll remember me because I've been putting out content the entire time.
Yeah. Something that I think many of us take for granted, and you probably take for granted too, but I'm glad you're sharing the tips with us today, is that some of the tips that we assume everyone knows can actually be the difference between someone going, oh, I didn't know that, like the lighting, the angles. And so it's a great reminder, isn't it? Don't assume that everybody knows even the simplest of things. Start sharing and let your audience give you feedback as to what's been really helpful. Would you agree?
I agree. I've been trying to get feedback from my audience as to what kind of content is helping right now, because there are so many people putting out so many things, and we all know that our Facebook feed is covered in whatever news story right now. But I'm trying to kind of get a feeling from them. Do they want more feel-good content? Do they want more educational content? Do they need to know that I'm still doing services, things like that? So I've been checking in with different people and seeing what's helping them.
Yeah. What I love about what you've just said is that, you know, when you think of videographer, you will often be on site with your client, behind the camera, recording them so that they can use that. And now what you're doing is exactly the thing that I've been saying to people. You need to go out to the audience. Where can you help them? How can you take some of the things that you know you can do online to be a support, so that you are maintaining top of mind awareness because you're providing valuable tips? Then once this passes, and this too shall pass, we don't know how long, but we know that it will pass, because you've provided such great content and been helpful in any, you know, way, shape or form for your audience. Guess who they're going to go back to once they're ready to hire a videographer, or, you know, whoever this, you know, you are watching today in your particular expertise. So you went out and you asked your audience, what were some other things that you're doing or you're considering doing to either pivot, to either zag and do something that you know your industry is not offering, or maybe even just doubling down on some of the things that you can see is working well? What are some insights you want to share for other people who are watching and thinking, I need to change my approach?
So a couple of the things that we're doing is, I sat down and I was thinking, all right, we can't leave the house right now, and we can't, well, I'm a member of the press, so if I needed to, I can, but we need to use what we have to create new things. So one of the things that I pivoted to is creating content with assets that we already have. And one of the examples that I have for that is the real estate industry. How are you going to show houses right now? You really can't, because you can't do it in person. And if you're going and doing it with your iPhone, you're not following the rules. At least here in New York, we're supposed to stay home unless it's an essential business. So technically they're breaking the rules to go do that, and they potentially could get sick because they don't know, like, if someone's inhabiting that house, you don't know if they're sick. So I'm making virtual tours from the listing pictures that the real estate agents already have. So I'm taking them and then making them into moving montages with information, with voiceover, so that there is something that is packaged that they can send to their clients. Or just put out on their social media. But that doesn't just have to be with real estate agents, because that could be with anyone. If you have photos on your phone, that's potential that you can be putting out there. You just aren't putting it out there because you're just like, oh, this is just something I have. I've been putting out some content of behind the scenes that I've had on my phone for months, and it turns into a pretty cool video. So that's one way that we've pivoted. And then the other way that I've pivoted is I actually am a live stream engineer. So people doing things similar to what we're doing right now, but they need, say, graphics or a PowerPoint or something like that incorporated as well and sent out to wherever they need it, Facebook Live, whatever. I'm doing that from here. So I'm engineering that. So those are two of the ways that we pivoted. Instead of being in person, we're doing that from remote, but I am kind of educating people and figuring out ways to...
Yeah, I tell you, we're a new market that would be very helpful in tapping into someone such as yourself and your expertise are churches.
Yes,
you know,
definitely.
We're not allowed to. I mean, I'm a Christian, so you know, this is the first. Last week was the first week we said we're going online, and many of the churches who are just not tapping into yet some of those live streamings. And there's a funny quote that went around and said all these pastors that are looking like, you know, Osama bin Laden on their videos because they look shocking and kind of laugh. But that's great. And I love that you shared that, because how often when we followed a business model, and look, let's face it, this is what we've never had anything like this before. I mean, 2008 was the global financial crisis, so we had to kind of shift our thinking. But sometimes we get stuck, and it's great when we hear other people say, you know what, this is what I'm doing. I'm pivoting slightly. And why I mention that is that for some of us, we in our pivot, that may become a strong revenue model for us when we realize, and so, you know, there's always silver linings, I think, even on the darkest of clouds. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, the importance of putting out content, because I think that, and we already have, I know, but because one of the questions that has come up, and I've seen a few of the, you know, the digital media now addressing this, some businesses are not putting out content because they realize that some people are, their whole lives have changed. They're out of work, or, you know, their business has dried up because they're no longer able to go out there. So they want to be reticent to that. They want to be, you know, mindful. So how can they, you know, twist the content or reshape it so that they're still being mindful and respectful, but at the same time still being inspiring and still being maybe sharing some of those insights? Do you have some thoughts on that?
I do. I feel like there's a line, and that line is more so like you have to be sensitive to the people that are having a hard time during this, thankful to the people that are like out there and fighting against this, but you need to keep in mind that there's a lot of people who are just home isolated because maybe they live alone. I live alone. There's nothing happening. And they need some sort of, like, I would say, like, white light, entertainment, just reassurance that the businesses around them are not collapsing, just so that they understand what's happening. I don't know over by you how, like, the media outlets are kind of covering this, but here it's everyone's covering every step of every single thing, and it's just very confusing. So for them to see a familiar face is very reassuring. My parents have an orthotics and prosthetics business, and I actually, before everything shut down, went to the business with like a camera and a microphone, and I was like, Dad, you need to say something. Like, you need to tell your patients like what the plan is, if they need to get a hold of you, what's going on, and like what to expect over the next weeks, months, whatever it is. And the response that we've gotten back so far on that is that all of his patients really appreciated that they got that information personally from him, because he's the owner. So I think as long as you're respectful, and a lot of my content, if you look at it right now, is very much, I want to help you, instead of, hey, we need money, come hire us. It's, hey, like, I really want to help this person, I want to help that person. I think it's very much the connotation as to what you're saying in your content right now.
Yeah, I love the way that you've reinforced how important it is to be sensitive And, you know, as you said, if it's provided with the intention and people can sense that, to really be supportive. I'm here to help you. If you've got any questions, let me share some content around that. And because I think now is so important that as business owners, we need to be the voice of hope and inspiration. That's why I started the very first podcast in 2008, because of the media doom and gloom.
Yeah.
And I mean, they need to report on certain things, but then they take it to that extreme where they, you know, the headlines, and you think, oh, here's another one of those shock and horror headlines. You know, thankfully they're starting to share a few of the stories of businesses who have pivoted. You need to balance that. But if they're not doing that, this is a great opportunity for us to speak into that.
Yes.
And I think, yeah, continue. Yeah.
There is one business that really has been going above and beyond. It's actually, I mentioned that I think I mentioned my trainers, my personal trainers.
Yes.
The second that this started going on, like, they were like waiting for the moment where they said that they had to close the gym down. The second the gym closed, every single client got a phone call. Every single client got a home workout plan. They're working on diet plans for everyone. They actually let us borrow their equipment in the interim because people didn't have equipment, like kettlebells. My boyfriend took a bench. Like,
wow.
They're going above and beyond with that. They've had multiple town halls. They set up live stream schedules for people to come so that they can monitor. They're going above and beyond. But outside of the people that are involved, they don't know that. And I think that businesses that are going above and beyond should make sure to share that content on their social media to show how much they really care about their clients and how much they want to help, and how this is a crazy situation that should have probably never happened, because this has never happened before, and they're finding ways to provide value and help, because I have gotten like 5 different emails with 5 different, in between your program you can do this type information. I didn't ask for it, but it's wonderful that like it's here and it's a resource, and that they can be a resource for me.
Yeah, so important. And I love the way that you encouraged your father to, you know, share that message with his patients, because just would have been about 2019, Edelman, they do a, you know, the annual trust barometer.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was really prevalent, was coming through, was that people expected CEOs and business leaders to step forward and share their story. What are the values of the company? And in situations such as this, unexpected, I don't want to use the word crisis, but it is a bit of a crisis, isn't it? Things have changed. We need to change and adapt our approach. And so that's when it's so important to step forward, even if it is you know, we're uncertain as it is now, but speak some hope and possibility. This is what we're doing. We are here for you. This is a way that we can continue to communicate. You know, because I think it's the businesses that don't say anything that, you know, that will find it difficult, if they suddenly disappear, to have to start to build momentum again after this, you know, after this passes. Do you also look at, because this is something that I'm often asked, how do I know what content to share? You've already said, which is great, go out to your audience and ask them, but also to monitor what you've been sharing, to see what has gotten the most impressions, what has gotten the most engagement. That's something else that people can do as well. Yes.
Yes, I've been checking through the posts that I've been putting out and seeing which ones have the most views, the most impressions. For some reason, the most impressions I've gotten lately was a time lapse when I was walking around Disney. Like, okay, cool. Like, people want Disney content, I guess. But it's really a good way to like see with the numbers what's working for you and what's not. Because if just you pumping out like videos of you talking in your room about politics isn't working, try and get away from that content. If you talking inspirationally about, hey, like these are tips that you can do while you're at home to optimize your space, optimize the way that you're getting your work done. If you see that that's doing better, obviously go towards that. it's kind of redundant because obviously it's similar to checking in with your clients or like your followers. But the way that I've been getting the best feedback is for the people I didn't ask. The people that are saying, oh my God, your content's being really great lately. Or I really loved that you made that video saying like, hey, like we're still here, we're still creating, we're still doing this. And like, I've gotten a lot of messages about that because a lot of people in my field are going dormant right now, or they're just sharing their own content as in like, hey, I'm selling this, or I'm selling these pictures, or something along those lines, rather than I'm trying to interact with you. I'm trying to get to know what you need, because I don't know about you, but I've been on so many more Zoom calls and like so much more busy with like messages and emails than I've ever been since I've been home. But that's because I'm making that back and forth with the people on my social accounts, and making that effort with people on LinkedIn, my email, my past clients, because I'm trying to make sure that everyone has a cohesive idea of what they're doing, what they can do, and what we can help them with.
Yeah, so true. And I love the way that you've incorporated even some of the previous content that you've had. I mean, you know, there may be some, as you said, Disney, because people can't travel now, that you could say, well, here's something that I shot a while ago. Enjoy it. You can't be there physically, but enjoy the video. And so sometimes it does not, you can incorporate other things as well, you know, where you've been, and just ideas of your travels and things like that, scattered in or sprinkled in between tips and things like that, which is fabulous. So Celia, it's been absolutely wonderful. What are some ways that people connect? I mean, obviously we're here on Instagram, and people can connect with you, follow you, DM you, check out your links. But let's share a little bit more about websites where they can get hold of you if they've been listening and watching today and think, you know what, I can start doing some things as well, and I'd love to reach out and ask for support. What's the best way for them to connect with you?
So the best way for you to connect with me is you can connect with Instagram. So my personal account is Celia_Werner. My business account is at Celia Werner Productions. My everything else is CeliaWernerProductions.com. And my email is CeliaWernerProductions@gmail.com. So
Fantastic.
however you want to get a hold of me, I am here. I am answering. I will help as best as I possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that you just said earlier was that you were DMing and, you know, commenting and reaching out. And I'd have to say that that is the exact reason that you and I are here today. I think you responded to something that I said, and we were kind of backwards and forwarding. And then I thought, well, let's get online and let's do a live. So what you've just said is absolute testament to get out there and connect online. DM, get into the DMs, comment on other people's comments, because opportunities to collaborate and share, you know, your message is certainly coming out of that, because this is how this live came to be. So thank you so very much again for coming on. It's been an absolute delight. I'm going to be much more mindful of where I place my glasses. And it's been so helpful. So thanks once again. So now I've got to figure out, so when I do end,
there should be an option to save.
To save. Okay, so if I don't do that, then there's no other way to be able to save it down, is there? Or to save it?
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'll have to Google it. Thanks, Monica. Monica said, thanks, Celia and Annemarie, for the tips and encouragement. You are
no
so
problem.
Very welcome.
Hopefully it helps. And thank you so much for having me. If you ever want me back, just send me a message.
Oh, absolutely. It's fun. I love these Instagram lives and interviews and things like that. So
yeah,
it's a great way to connect and engage and share great content. All right, bye for now. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Whatever.